May 2014, a Russian expedition led by the researcher Alexander Koltepin was the first one to conduct on-field study of these remarkable archaeological remains located in the Phrygian valley of nowadays Turkey, which consist of petrified vehicle tracks which were apparently imprinted in that time soft stone or mud during the Neogene period. The other members of the expedition were Alexander Zhiharev, Andrei Kuznetsov, and Anastasia Legutina. And this is the first presentation of their research, or any research as a matter of fact, on this archaeological location in English. And I decided it's absolutely fascinating and unique information and deserves to be presented to the English-speaking public. The sources are Russian articles, and I have provided a link to them in the description of this video. First of all, I will start with a short overview of the dating techniques which were used to date these tracks to such an amazing faraway period in time, which is millions of years ago. And obviously we are talking about vehicle tracks. You can see it for yourself on the footage. So first of all, it's overview of the dating data. Second of all, I will review some other hypotheses that could arise in some people's minds as of the origins of the tracks, like for example, they could be left by heavy equipment trucks in recent times. Next, I will review in detail why the hypothesis that is given by the official historians that these are actually cart tracks which date some just a couple of thousand years ago, left by the animal-driven carts of the primitive people inhabiting those regions at that time. So I will point quite few independent reasons which are sufficient by themselves to refute this hypothesis that it's possible that these tracks were left by cattle carts in the very recent history. And at the end, maybe I will try to give some clues of whose vehicles, not clues but ideas, about whose vehicles could have left those tracks millions of years ago. Okay, now let's mark one very important point that will be very useful in the further explanations. Please note how the various tracks cross each other, how they overlap each other, and also how well the tires were, or whatever, the wheels are printed in the earth. It is really obvious that when these tracks were made, it was soft, the earth was soft, it was either mud or the stone was still soft at the time that it was being formed. Please also pay attention, sometimes scratches will appear on the sides of the track, and this will also very well prove that the substance was soft when these vehicles passed on the surface and left these tracks. If these tracks were made when the stone was already hardened, they they would leave cracks all over, the full surface would be crushed, and the tracks wouldn't be so smooth. Also pay attention to the very bottom of the tracks. It is very, very smooth. It is absolutely obvious that it was left just by one vehicle that passed there one time. Okay, sometimes two or more tracks meet each other, and then we can see how they overlap, and the result is same as if the two or three cars passed on a soft muddy surface one after another. I mean, this is really quite obvious from the footage. So apparently these tracks were made when the surface of the earth was still soft. And how is that possible? Well, actually, given in consideration the volcanic activity in this area, that would have been earliest 5 million years ago. And when a proper study is done, you can see the footnotes for all the sources that Alexander Koltepin, whose specialty, by the way, is geology, of all the sources he has on the geology of the surface of Turkey, he reaches the conclusion that it has been some 5.3 million years ago and through 23 million years ago. This is the time span in which this rock could have been formed due to volcanic activity. We don't know exactly, this is quite a long period of time, but somewhere within that time span these rocks were formed, and they were soft enough for the vehicles to make this type of tracks in them. A further proof that we are really dealing with very, very old fossilized tracks is the erosion that is left on the surface and on the tracks themselves. There is clearly visible very thick crust that definitely takes a couple of millions years to form, and the crust is absolutely consistent. It is same all over the area where the tracks are left. It is same on near the tracks, and it is same on the tracks themselves. It's absolutely impossible for such a crust to form within 2-3,000 years, as it is suggested by the official archaeological data, so to say, on this archaeological site. Although nobody has done any research at all, still they somehow labeled it to be very, very recent, just because they label everything to be very recent by default. But the crust is definitely a very tangible proof of the absolutely amazing ancient time when these tracks were formed. You can find the full chemical analysis of the crust on the website of Alexander Koltepin, a link provided in the description of this video. Another point, as I mentioned briefly before, proving that we are dealing with a very, very ancient site, is the fact that if it was made in recent times, the sides of the tracks would have been crushed by the repeated usage of vehicles. We don't see that at all. The tracks are absolutely smooth. They haven't been used after that. There is no other sign of wear. It is clearly visible that they were made and they got fossilized. Another point worth mentioning now is that these tracks are only visible on the places where the rock that has been formed during the Neogen period is laid bare and it's visible. At some places where there are other layers of the earth visible on the surface, there are no tracks at all. And this is another absolute proof of the very ancient nature of these tracks. Other point to consider is the heavy erosion on the rocks, which is absolutely consistent with their Neogene period age of formation. They definitely show signs of wear due to weather that takes millions of years to form. And another point is that tracks are also subjected to this erosion. Obviously, the rock and the tracks were aging at the same time. If the tracks were some sort of recent formation, the erosion wouldn't have been visible on them, same as the crust. Both things take millions of years to form. Actually, the tracks appear so well printed in the rock that it may cross somebody's mind. So what if recent very, very heavy vehicles left this track? Is this possible? Well, first of all, given the hardness of the stone, although it is tuff stone, or tuff, I'm not sure how it is in English, which is a relatively soft stone, still it is a stone, and currently there is no vehicle in our civilization at least that is able to leave such a, or if they were passing repeatedly to form the tracks. I mean, the logic is that if there is no such a heavy vehicle that can do it at once, so what if they passed many, many times? That also doesn't fit what we see on the ground, because if that was the case, the tracks wouldn't be so nicely visible. All around them would be crushed. And they wouldn't be with such a smooth sides and corners as we see actually on the ground in reality. Although no archaeologist in the past did a proper study of the tracks, still they already know, without studying them, how were the tracks made, and they have an official version, as they have for everything. And here the version is that the tribes that were inhabiting this area some 2,000–3,000 years ago, they made these roads, they called them roads, with their animal carts. And when the carts would use the same track again and again, it would get deeper and deeper. The stone would crush deeper and deeper under the wheels of the carts, and a track would be formed. And when it gets too deep, then they would move a little bit on the side, and then another track would be formed. Isn't it a miracle? It didn't happen anywhere else on earth, but it happened here. Apparently the stone was very soft. However, in reality, please see the picture that is now on the screen and look at the third position of the wheels. Obviously, we have had a very high-tech vehicle making these tracks, because when the surface wasn't even like in a position 3, still the tires wouldn't be tilted. Like the surface where the tires touch the ground is still absolutely horizontal, because the device was manufactured in such a way to function in such a rough environments. If